This channel is part of the History Hit network.
This is Black Clauchrie in Galloway, West Scotland. 4 years ago, Adrian and Caroline Goodall bought it so they could escape the rat race with their family. But their ideal home has turned into a money pit. It's in serious need of restoration, and it's tearing them apart.
Caroline, we've sat down and argued the toss.
What about separating?
Can businesswoman Ruth Watson rescue this national treasure and the couple's dream of a new life?
I've worked bloody hard to build this business up, and it can be knackered in an instant.
Where's the preparation? This is just not good enough.
I think she's really brought it home to me, just what a bloody pickle I'm in.
The last thing Black Clauchrie needs is a divorce.
South Ayrshire, Scotland. In this wild and beautiful landscape bordering the Galloway Hills and Forest Park lies Black Clauchrie House. Built in 1901 in the arts and crafts style, Black Clauchrie was originally a hunting lodge designed for leisure and country pursuits. 4 years ago, builder Adrian Goodall fell in love with this remote spot and decided to relocate his family from Halifax in Yorkshire. His partner Caroline, her son Rob, and their daughter Georgie left their busy lives behind to start again in this secluded part of Scotland.
When we came up to the house, it was just like entering a fairy tale, really. We couldn't believe actually how big it was.
It was beyond really being able to comprehend it and see it realistically as your own. It's just a dream.
Adrian and Caroline paid £680,000 for Black Clauchrie, but it soon became clear that beneath the surface there were fundamental and costly problems.
All of a sudden you get your bank statement in and you realise then, well, we spent, £150,000 that we had that we now haven't got. We got to a point where we stopped adding the figures up because it was getting quite depressing.
They couldn't afford to keep Black Clauchrie as a private home, so they decided to let the 8-bedroom house out to self-catering groups.
We are not hoteliers, we're not hospitality people. We've stumbled on this and done this out of necessity.
Now the Goodalls have had to move into a tiny adjacent cottage, which was the old servants' quarters, while the house lies empty, waiting for guests that rarely come. Last year, they only made an £8,000 profit, and this year, things are even worse. To make ends meet, Adrian and his stepson Rob have had to take on contracting work for local farmers, which means long hours away from the house.
It's been extremely difficult. When I'm here on my own, I really do wonder, what the hell am I doing here?
They are working harder than ever, seeing less of each other, and not even living in the house that brought them here. They've asked Ruth Watson to help.
It's quite extraordinary how many country houses are completely concealed by the landscape. The problem is, the more remote the house, the more difficult it is to find an owner prepared to live there and to pay for the upkeep.
Self-made businesswoman Ruth runs her own award-winning hotel and restaurant empire in Suffolk and made her fortune transforming derelict mansions like Hintlesham Hall into hugely profitable businesses. It's April, and Ruth is on her way to Black Clauchrie to help Adrian and Caroline save their dream. If she can find them.
History Hit is a streaming platform that is just for history fans, with fantastic documentaries covering fascinating figures and moments in history from all over the world. We've got unrivaled access to the world's leading historians, with hundreds of documentaries featuring everything from Boudica to the British royal family. We're committed to bringing history fans award-winning documentaries and podcasts that you cannot find anywhere else. Sign up now for a free trial, and Real Royalty fans get 50% off their first 3 months. Just be sure to use code REALROYALTY at checkout.
I really don't know whether I'm heading in the right direction. I know Black Clauchrie is a long way off the main road, but I'd really like to see some reassuring signs, especially when I get to what's effectively a little crossroads.
If Ruth came here and said, look, Adrian and Caroline, you're wasting your time, sell the place, we'd take that on board and listen to what she has to say.
Over the next few days, Ruth will formulate a plan to help safeguard Black Clauchrie's future. She starts with an inspection of the house.
Oh, not so good.
Hello, Ruth. Nice to meet you.
Oh, this is amazing.
The wood-panelled hallway is a perfect example of the arts and crafts movement. Simple, unified designs and good craftsmanship.
Is he a relation?
He was a gift from my father.
Do you know anything about arts and crafts?
Not
Not judging by that response, no.
There are many wonderful examples of arts and crafts features. The hand-beaten fireplace surround in the dining room is typical of the movement.
I love to sit down in here, get the fire going and have dinner at the table.
But I thought you lived outside in one of the cottages.
Yes, but the cottage is actually attached to the main house.
But you don't live upstairs, sleep upstairs?
No.
No. Is that a bit odd to have bought this wonderful place and then not live in it yourself?
It is really, isn't it?
It's the problem of having to keep coming in and cleaning it, changing the beds, the linen and things like that when we've got guests coming in.
But does that make you feel a bit like the concierge rather than the owners?
It does. Just for me.
Despite Adrian doing much of the work himself, the Goodalls have spent £150,000 restoring the house. And there's still a great deal more to do.
The joinery works are all collapsing in the corners. There's water getting in.
This is too important to lose, I think. It's really, really lovely.
But Adrian can't finish the renovations Black Clauchrie so desperately needs because all his time is taken up with the farm contracting work. This is not what they'd planned.
What brought you from Yorkshire to the lowlands of Scotland?
Well, I had a bad accident. When I was running my business, I severed my left foot. Then I had a double brain hemorrhage.
What is this? This is horrendous.
Yes, it is.
And how, have you got a foot, may I
Yes,
ask?
I've got a full foot. I've got full use of my foot.
And they got your brain back together as well,
yes, unfortunately.
That's debatable.
Yeah.
Did it kind of make you stop and take stock of your life and what you were doing with it?
Definitely.
Definitely did, yeah. Definitely did. We decided, we'd have a change, complete change of lifestyle.
Slow down.
Slow down and move on to something else. That was the aim.
Yes.
But you haven't slowed down.
We're actually at it harder than ever.
Yeah. So you're looking at an incredibly busy season where you're going to be working all hours out on the land. In the meantime, nothing gets done on the house. Yes? You are in a bit of a catch-22.
We are.
And do you and Caroline think alike on this? No, you don't, obviously. One shaky head, one eyebrows raised.
Raging rounds.
Okay. In what? Why?
I get frustrated. I would just like to see more of Adrian's talent and skill put into the house.
Here?
Yes.
Not out there in a field somewhere? So when you get to the end of the row, is there ever any resolution?
There was one resolution, that was to give you a call.
The Goodalls have to find a way to make Black Clauchrie pay for itself. But time is running out.
Adrian's never here.
He's never here?
No, he's never here. I can't get there on my own. It's frustrating.
It would destroy me if I ever lost it. It would take something away from me.
4 years ago, Adrian and Caroline Goodall bought Black Clauchrie House in South Ayrshire, Scotland. The house is set in stunning wilderness, with views to the Galloway Hills. Black Clauchrie has some fine arts and crafts features. An impressive wood-panelled hall, handmade fireplaces, and a ballroom with a vaulted ceiling and minstrel's gallery. This hunting lodge was designed for a millionaire's lifestyle. Built in 1901, the estate used to include 7,500 acres of remote moorland, ideal for hunting, shooting and fishing. It was run by 40 full-time staff, despite only being used for 3 months of the year. But Black Clauchrie's glory days seem to be over. The splendid house is failing to attract paying guests, and its new owners risk losing their home and their Scottish dream.
The problem is that the Edwardians who built this house built it as a get-away-from-it-all holiday home. It's an arts and crafts house that should be full of people enjoying themselves. I am determined to restore this house sensitively to its original purpose and allow not just Adrian and Caroline, but others to come and enjoy it.
Businesswoman Ruth Watson is on hand to try and help the Goodalls escape from their downward spiral. But with Adrian working all hours to bring some money in, it won't be easy.
It would destroy me if I ever lost it. If I ever had to give it up, it would, it would take something away from me.
Ruth continues her investigative tour to try and figure out their best way forward.
This is really great. If there was no other reason for buying the house, it has to be this. You really do get that feeling that this is where you escape to after dinner to have some fun. Something you don't do enough of, I think.
Not at the moment.
No. Adrian's never here, so...
He's never here?
No, he's never here.
I'm busy contracting and things like that, so...
I think you should remember what this house is about. Having
Pleasure.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not just the house that needs Adrian's attention. The Goodalls have spotted the potential for further accommodation and income from the dilapidated outbuildings in the grounds.
This is in a really nice position, isn't it?
Adrian and his stepson Rob show Ruth round one of the derelict spaces.
This, Ruth, is the original Victorian laundry, where they used to come up and do the laundry for the main house.
Amazing. So it's got all the ovens and sinks next door. And a very nice space, albeit slightly tumbly down.
And this here was actually part of the steam room, where
Look at that.
the clothes were hung on.
Just extraordinary.
If Adrian had the time, he could renovate the 4 outbuildings and rent them out as holiday lets. This could net the Goodalls up to £60,000 each year. Then the family could move back into the main house full-time. But for now, they're forced to live in the servants' wing, next to the main house, where Caroline has her office.
How long have you been living here?
I decided to make the permanent move in here about a year ago.
Right.
Sick and tired of moving things backwards and forwards. And
Caroline used to be a graphic designer and helped put Black Clauchrie's website together.
What I'm really surprised about is that the look and feel of it is really quite old-fashioned. I mean, this typeface, for example.
Yes.
I mean, I personally hate this font that's been used because I think it's, rather than looking traditional, I think it just looks sort of dated. I'm afraid I think this looks a bit amateur night out.
not doing it justice, am I?
No, not really. But when you're here on your own, which is quite a lot, and
Yes.
Adrian's out on the tractor and perhaps Rob's out as well, I mean, do you sometimes wonder why you're here?
Yes, I do. I do.
So why do you think Adrian prefers to be away from the house rather than in the house, refurbishing it?
I think mainly it's a necessity, financially.
Right? Are you sure about that? I mean, do you think he can see a reason for getting this house sorted out and the cottages?
I think he sees the potential and he knows that it needs to be done. But he doesn't, in my mind, he doesn't really appreciate the urgency and just how much potential there is here, now how much money can be made here. I can't get there on my own, it's frustrating.
Ruth has a look around the rest of the house on her own to check out the facilities they are currently offering guests.
This is amazing. I've seen a few fireplaces in my life, but never one like this. It's just the most amazing piece of design, unlike the Draylon headboard.
Apart from the master bedroom with ensuite, the other 7 bedrooms have to share just 2 bathrooms, one of which has an original Victorian shower bath, a fascinating period piece, but hardly a mod con. Black Clauchre's setup at the moment may be fine for people looking for basic self-catering, but if the Goodalls want to up their bookings, charge more and encourage return visits, they will need to raise their game.
Now, here's the problem with this house. Everywhere I go, there's this nice, simple, strict arts and crafts interior with plenty of decent features, albeit plain, but there's a real sense of design about it. And yet, appliqued on top is all this rubbish. We have a little spriggy wallpaper from the 70s, and then we've got mismatching lilac duvets and pink bedside tables and ghastly lamps. If you haven't got any money, the best thing is just to keep it very simple. Just keep it white. Don't let's fight with an architect who knew what he was doing when you haven't got a clue. It's all wrong. And I can't think that anyone would be thrilled at staying in these kind of bedrooms. Such a mismatch.
Black Clauchrie borders the Galloway Forest Park, which at 300 square miles is the largest in Britain. But despite living just yards from it, the Goodalls have never visited. Ruth has arranged to meet Keith Muir, the park's head of tourism, to see if Black Clauchre's remote, undiscovered location could be the key to its success.
It's astoundingly beautiful. So why have people not come here?
Well, the image that people have of Scotland tends to be the Highlands.
Yeah.
Big mountains, castles, fortress, and they tend to look at Edinburgh and the north.
Yeah.
So this part of the area is a forgotten, beautiful part, a hidden gem.
It is, indeed. So at the moment, how many visitors are you getting and how many would you like to get?
We're getting around about 1 million just now, and we'd like to get in excess of 1.5 million.
Really? Are you getting the right kind of lodgings for people? Do you think that could be improved?
Definitely could be improved. We need the private businesses to come on board and offer something that the visitor wants to come to. So getting the accommodation right is critical to us.
With over 1 million potential customers coming to the region each year, Adrian and Caroline should be doing more to exploit their location. And that's not the only trick they're missing. Arts and crafts accommodation can be big business. Bob and Isabel Hunter, owners of Skirling House near Dumfries, have welcomed thousands of design-conscious guests to their unique and very popular B&B.
Did you buy this house because you're a great arts and crafts aficionados?
We liked the house. We were looking for something interesting.
But do you feel as a B&B owners that it's a unique selling point for you? I mean, does it really draw people in?
A lot of people come and they say that, oh yes, we love that period, that's why we've come, and we mention it always in the little blurb that we do in any of the guides and everything. It's always mentioned.
But even with all the history, some modern touches are required. All the bedrooms at Skirling House are en suite.
What I love is the basin and things are obviously demonstrably old, but the overhead shower looks spanking new. So I like
It is.
I think everybody wants at least as good as they have at home. And if you can give them something that they thought they would do but haven't quite got round to doing yet at home, that's even better.
Yeah.
You've got to exceed their expectations if you possibly can.
Yeah.
You're stealing my words.
After her investigations, Ruth returns to Black Clauchrie to give the Goodalls her assessment.
I'm feeling so nervous.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Ruth.
Hello, Ruth.
Top of the agenda, the poor directions for guests negotiating the 4 miles of track leading to the house.
I'm going to start my experience right from the beginning, and that's as I drove off the road. What I really found missing was signage, because as I went on and on and on and on, I wanted some reassurance that I was on the right track, literally.
Next up, the house itself. Ruth feels they're not making the most of Black Clauchre's unique selling point, its arts and crafts style.
With the best will in the world, some of the furnishings, paintings, pictures, it's not really in keeping. The architecture is very strong and plain and simple, and you're putting in sort of rather fussy things and things which don't really go. The other problem with the house itself is that there is a deficiency of bathrooms. I think you should install at least 1 or 2.
At the moment, the Goodalls only have 4 bookings for the year ahead. Ruth thinks they should be tapping into the tremendous resource that they have on their doorstep.
The Galloway Forest Park, which is stupendously beautiful, they've got 600 miles of tracks there, and they would be more than happy for you to take your guests out there on mini safaris, and they could be themed. I mean, they could be people who want to do photography, it could be people who want to go fishing, people who want to do walking. So you could be the tour guide, the host. I mean, don't you think you might enjoy that?
You would love it.
I've never actually thought of that, to be honest.
You would love it, Adrian, and you'd be very good at it.
I do love this countryside here. It's just fabulous, you know.
He loves just taking people around the garden and just showing them little fishing spots and stuff. He loves it.
Yeah.
What Adrian would really love is to move back into the main house, and renovating the cottages for holiday lets could be the best way to achieve this. But nothing will get done unless Adrian can find the time from his busy farming schedule.
What I want to suggest is that Rob takes over with you overseeing all of the contracts, so some income coming in from there, but that frees you up, Adrian, to be here on site with your beloved wife who misses you, that you start to enjoy being here more, that this becomes your main core activity.
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep, I'd agree with that.
You'd agree with it, Caroline?
I think that is going to be very hard for you to actually do, Adrian, because...
without falling out too much.
No, just talk about it. Don't fall out.
It's difficult because I've worked bloody hard to build this business up, and it can be knackered in an instant.
Yeah.
Through immaturity and irresponsibility. And last year, Robert lost focus and let me down.
So is that part of the problem about not trusting Rob to do it?
It's having that reliability element.
So if you're a control freak, you've got to find a way of actually delegating where it's required. I can't see how this house will ever get the treatment and the attention it deserves. Right. It's not going to happen because at the moment you're investing all your time and energy elsewhere.
Yep.
And that's the truth of it. But what you're doing is actually saying, stuff Black Clauchrie. Because nobody else is going to do the work here. It could be said that you're being very selfish about it.
It seems to be all about me and what I'm doing. What about everybody else?
Well, it is to some extent all about you because you're the one who's dictating what happens here by your absence.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree with that. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but sometimes you're just so engrossed in your work, you just can't see out and see what's happening to the rest of us. And it's a shame.
I didn't want you to appear quite so depressed. You're making the farmers happy. And I want you to make you happy, and your family happy, and this house happy. So it sort of is all about you.
When somebody comes and tells you who's an outsider, knows nothing of my circumstances, nothing of the position we're in or anything, who then lays it on the line to you, I think she's really brought it home to me. Just what a bloody pickle I'm in.
After Ruth left, Adrian was up very late to the early hours of the morning, contemplating everything that Ruth had said. And the next morning he came to the conclusion that we should just sell the bloody thing because there's just can't do it. He can't be in 5 places at one time. It took a few days of talking to him and, you know, a bit of reality, and he came round to it, and he's decided, yes, we'll do it.
You know, her comments sort of made me think, well, have I done the wrong thing? Caroline and I have battled over this house, we've fallen out over it, and, you know, it could have been easier to just say, fuck it, and let it go and walk away from it and just, you know, buy a little bungalow or a little house somewhere and have loads of money in the bank and be comfortable and just buy a new car every year and have 3 or 4 holidays a year. We ain't got that. We haven't had the holidays. It's all about, you know, nurturing this house and making it, you know, somewhere special for us. It's a special place, and I'd hate to lose it. I'd hate to give it up. I just love it here. Just absolutely love it.
The life they dreamed of is evaporating fast. Something's got to change. But could Black Clauchrie tear the family apart?
We might as well just, you know, go separate ways and...
What do you mean by saying something like that?
Caroline, we've sat down and argued the toss.
What about separating?
It's May, 4 weeks since Ruth Watson's first visit to Black Clauchrie, and she's on her way back to see if the Goodalls have taken on her advice. One key suggestion was that they install proper signage to help potential customers find their remote house.
Hello.
Hello, Ruth.
This is very unexpected.
Yes.
Hi.
Nice to see you again.
How are you? Now, you know you're doing this all wrong, don't you?
Are we?
Because who's going to see it at this angle?
Well,
It's traffic you're looking at, not passers-by. You don't get bloody passers-by. Traffic, so it's either got to be facing that way or facing that way, preferably both ways. But side on to the road. Where's Adrian?
Adrian's up at the house. He's been out this morning doing a bit of...
Don't tell me, on a bloody tractor.
Yes.
Shall I see you all up there?
Yes.
Yeah, anyway,
we'll be up very
good
soon.
to see progress, though. Well done on that, really.
Since Ruth's last visit, Caroline has been busy researching the history of the house and the arts and crafts period.
You've been very busy, have you?
I've been very busy, Ruth,
You know, I really hated the graphics you had on your website.
Yes, I know you did. I've actually made the transformation from the thinking of a Scottish shooting lodge and taken on board and embraced all the arts and crafts features that we have here.
What?
Yes.
Very nice to hear.
Yes.
So, what have you been doing?
I've been concentrating on a logo, and this is actually a rubbing from the ironwork around the ballroom. And then I found some...
So, Caroline, the graphic designer, has come out.
Yes, I'm alive again.
Ah, this is very good.
And then I found some arts and crafts fonts, and I've totally simplified it so that you can read it.
But it still looks very much of the period. I mean, you've captured the flavour beautifully. And I love these little icons. I think they work really well. I think you've done a very, very good job.
Thank you.
On her last visit, Ruth advised Adrian to hand over more responsibility for the farm contracts to stepson Rob. But with the advent of the busy part of farming season, Adrian's not spending any time working on the renovations at Black Clauchrie.
You know, we're just coming up to his busiest period. The next 4 months is harvesting time. We've got silage making, and then we come on to the barley and the baling of the straw and all the rest of it.
And how's Rob being?
I think come end of September, when he's really been pushed to the fore and pushed to the limits, because it will get really busy from now on. I'll be able to get a feel of whether he's going to be able to cope with it.
So the true test is coming, you
the
think?
true test is really, really coming, and there may be some big fights, some big arguments, who knows, but, you know...
How's Caroline getting on with her bits and pieces?
Well, Caroline's been beavering away. It's just took over her mindset.
Why are you shaking your head?
Because I come home at night and it's, Adrian, can you do this? Adrian, can you do that? I've already done a 16-hour day, and then I'm getting piled on with pressure.
So you're worried Caroline's rushing headlong?
Well, I'm worried in that there are not enough hours in the day for me. if Robert can take on this contracting, that will free up a lot of my time. I can oversee what's going on.
That's the thing, Adrian. I mean, you know, this was all about quality of your life, yours and Caroline's, and to enjoy this house and it to be your house.
Yep,
and
right.
That's the simple thing. And I don't want it to stress any of you out.
Ruth is keen to find out if they have what it takes to make the accommodation business work. But first, they have to sort out a few teamwork issues.
I don't think I need to be either clairvoyant or particularly sensitive. There's something out of kilter here, isn't there, with the way you're both approaching this particular project at this house. Yeah? A deafening silence. I think what we've got to do here is to, you know, bring back some equilibrium. You know, you've got to understand each other. I mean, I want you to understand Caroline is, you know, now feeling so positive, which is a great thing. You want to harness that, you know.
It took 2 years to get her to this point.
What did you just say that made Caroline look like that? What did you just say?
It's taken 2 years to get Caroline to this point.
Yeah, well, it has.
I have been working my socks off trying to push this place.
But not so long ago, you wanted to sell it.
Yes, I did, because I don't have the support.
I completely see where you're both coming from, right?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with seeing both your points of view. Completely understand that you've been trying to create a living from another source and you've made commitments to that and you feel that as the breadwinner you've got to pursue it. Again...
Well, I don't know whether I feel like I'm the breadwinner. I just feel that, you know, it gives me an opportunity to get out of the way, listening to Caroline going on at me and putting pressure on me to get on with the house. It's just the constant...
Yeah, OK, right, look, we've got to get some stability back into this, haven't we? It's like, you know, you're both great people and you both want the best for Black Clauchrie, but it's going off all at 6s and 7s. And I think you've got to, at some stage, draw a line under everything that's gone on before, because it's negative and it's not going to get you going forward. And I mean, one of the things about this house is I think it can bring you back together and to have an enjoyable time with it.
Adrian and Caroline bought Black Clauchrie to spend more time together, but instead, it's pulling them apart. Ruth has a plan to see if running the house as a business is really something they can enjoy working on together.
I'd like to do a little trial about what it would be like to have people sharing this house. And I think if Caroline could get the house up to proper arts and crafts standard, and you, Adrian, taking them off on safari in the Galloway National Park. You get some fun back that's to do with the house. Your relationship gets stronger because you're both going in the same direction and it's on the same project. And there's a mutual satisfaction to be had from that. And even if that didn't and can't work, I mean, for God's sake, you've got to plan some days, Adrian, where you and Caroline just go out and have a good time. You know, sod the silage. It's more important. You know, you love each other, you've got a family.
It's commitment. You know, we're making a commitment to get things sorted out. If not, we might as well just, you know, go separate ways and, you know...
Let's not go our separate ways.
What do you mean by saying something like that? This is the first I've heard this.
No, it isn't. Caroline, we've sat down and argued the toss over and over again over stuff. It's just...
But all people married do.
What about separating?
Oh...
Every marriage goes through stages where they're out of kilter. This is so bloody normal, I can't tell you.
Yes.
And you will talk and shout and fight your way through it, and you will be better for it at the end of it, right? But you have to have some fun along the way. You have to have a goal that you're trying to reach, because the last thing Black Clauchrie needs is a divorce, isn't it?
If Adrian can't find time to help, Caroline won't be able to get the house ready. And if things don't change, it seems there's little chance of a future for them at Black Clauchrie. But with the guests arriving in 4 weeks, Adrian makes time to build a new bathroom. And more importantly, he and Caroline are doing it together.
Yeah, just have a measure there of that now.
What I want is this tile to go up the wall like that.
So you just want straight lines of tiles
and straight up, yeah.
Straight up the wall as well, right.
Is that all right?
Yep.
Thank you, I think that'll look lovely.
Yeah, so do I.
busy farming season continues in earnest, and with Rob's help, Adrian keeps on top of the workload. But he still has to make a decision about Black Clauchrie and his family's future.
I've really got to look at my situation very closely and try and see what I do want out of life. Do I want my family, my wife, my kids and this home? Or do I want to just spend my time driving tractors in solitude?
Adrian wants to follow Ruth's advice and even manages to take a rare afternoon off to prepare for the photographer's safari in the Galloway forest. He and Caroline head into the park to find some photogenic locations.
This has not been used for a long time.
So you look over there now.
Yeah, that's a fair view, but it's a view just of trees. There we go, what's this? Loch Scallock. So we've got to there at the moment.
That's the house.
Yep.
There's some stunning views here, wasn't there?
Yep.
Around 1 million people visit the forest park each year, and they all need somewhere to stay. If the Goodalls can tap into this market, they may just keep their dream alive.
Oh, look at the view now. Our house must be straight over the back of that loch there, down to White Clauchrie and then into Black Clauchrie itself. Well, this is absolutely stunning scenery. I do wonder whether it's what I want to be doing, whether I can feel like I could give my contracting up to do this.
Wouldn't it be a nice way to earn a living?
Well, yeah, it probably would. Probably a lot less stressful, I think. It's whether I could fall into this sort of way of life. I don't know.
You'd be great at it, Adrian.
I think we've got a lot more groundwork to do yet. I think we need to, really research all the tracks and everywhere, all the areas, so that we've got a good understanding of what we're trying to offer.
What a nice thing to be doing, Adrian, and having time together.
Yeah, well, yeah, there is that. There is that, having the time together.
Nice to see you, actually.
Is it?
I've forgotten what you look like.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
It's July, 4 months since Ruth's first visit to Black Clauchrie, and she's on her way to see if Adrian and Caroline can make the safari weekend a success.
This is my last trip to Black Clauchrie, coming down this incredibly bumpy track. And I'm quite interested to see what I'm going to find at the end, because when I left them last, Adrian and Caroline were a bit at loggerheads. It's going to be quite fascinating to see whether there's a happy outcome or not.
Since Ruth's last visit, Caroline has redecorated the bedrooms. Instead of a riot of clashing designs, simple white walls now complement the arts and crafts details. New white cotton towels and linens add a clean, fresh feel, and period furnishings complete the look. Caroline's keen to show off her work, especially the bathroom they've worked so hard to finish on time.
Well done. Well, it's a bit of a transformation, isn't it?
It is, yes. We've ripped out all the walls, the ceiling. It was horrendous, the job.
I mean, is it actually ready for action, though?
Because
I'm just looking there and thinking that doesn't look quite right.
No, we've plumbed into the existing plumbing, and Adrian could absolutely kick himself because we've got a bit of a block in the pipe.
But Adrian hasn't had time to fix the blockage because his workload has suddenly doubled overnight.
What's happened about Rob helping him with the old machinery and the contracting?
It's not worked out. I think they've both come to the conclusion it's not going to work. So Rob's gone his way and Adrian's just muddling along at the moment on his own.
So how's he coping on his own though? Because I thought he said he wouldn't be able to.
Very, very long hours, Ruth, through the night. 2 nights on the trot he did through the night.
Despite their problems, the couple are ready to greet their guests, all members of the Royal Photographic Society.
Hi,
Caroline. I'm Trevor. Pleased to meet you.
Thank you. Adrian.
Hi, Adrian.
Pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Right.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
Oh, what's the story of the dog?
Everybody loves the dog.
It's a nice icebreaker, though, isn't it, when you come into a house?
Here we have the lounge.
Oh, wow.
You can relax in the evenings.
Very impressive. Oh, this is beautiful. Absolutely stunning.
Thank you very much. It's a bugger to clean.
Adrian plans to take the photographers out at 4 a.m. the next morning to catch the best light.
We've got access to over 600 miles of tracks, so we're here.
Right on the
so,
edge,
yeah,
aren't we?
we have a private track that we can get straight down here. If you're into sort of scenery and things like that, there's some fantastic scenery, and the views from there are absolutely stunning.
Oh, good.
And then we've got some higher hills at the back of us here. Absolutely stunning. That's stunning. The views across here are fantastic.
But without Rob to help, Adrian still has farm work to finish. So he heads out on the tractor. And despite offering the guests dinner, Caroline has been too busy to shop. So she suggested they head to the nearest town to find food instead.
In terms of eating arrangements tonight, are you eating in?
No, we're actually eating out in the local pub.
Is that what you expected to have happen?
No, it wasn't really.
I had assumed you were going to be fed here.
Yeah, so did I. I thought that was the arrangement, yes. It's kind of a long way to go and find somewhere to eat.
It's vital that this house party succeeds, but they clearly haven't created a good first impression.
Frankly, I'm bewildered by Caroline and Adrian's reactions to this photographic party. On the one hand, yes, bedrooms have been painted new linen and there seemed to be a genuine enthusiasm. But where's the preparation? They're meant to be focusing on hospitality, of providing the basic facilities, which they're not doing. This is just not good enough.
With so much resting on the following day's safari, can Caroline and Adrian rescue their dream from disaster?
I think, long-term, this is a very difficult project for you two.
Ruth has set Caroline and Adrian Goodall a challenge to host a photographic weekend at Black Clauchrie, part of a money-making plan to secure the future of their Scottish estate.
This is the master bedroom.
Wow, this is stunning.
It's 4 a.m. and, despite working at a nearby farm till after midnight, Adrian's ready to take the photographers into the park for their safari so they can catch the best of the morning light.
I've had a good 3 hours kip.
Much as that?
Yeah. Right. Boots on.
Morning, Adrian.
Morning.
Morning.
You all right? You all slept all right?
The park attracts 1 million visitors a year. Outdoors types like ramblers, bird watchers, mountain bikers, and of course landscape photographers. If the Goodalls can tap into this market, Black Clauchrie could soon start paying for itself.
I like the rocks in the foreground.
Yeah, lovely.
Beautifully calm.
But will this experience be enough to convince Adrian to give up his farming altogether?
That's the film.
Right.
That's the negative, so it's it's a nice size. A lot of information.
Yeah.
Time it. Do another minute. And so I just make sure I get enough exposure to give us some detail.
I was just looking at the camera and I thought, it looks a right old-time camera, that. You know, with all this type of old shuttering type thing, you know. Beautiful piece of workmanship.
Just keep firing it away.
Absolutely
Do you get what you want?
Interesting.
The Goodalls don't normally cater for guests, but after failing to provide last night's dinner, Caroline is keen to impress with a full Scottish breakfast.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is it?
It is.
Did you have a good time?
I think so,
Yes.
It was lovely.
And Adrian is already planning for the next safari.
We've got 610 miles of track. We've just been down probably 20 mile of it. You know, I'm going to have to get myself out and get recceing round and really find some spots.
After breakfast, the guests explore Black Clauchrie's derelict outbuildings on the hunt for an interesting shot. And Caroline and Adrian finally have time to fix the new shower. But have they done enough to impress their guests?
It's ideal for groups, and I'd have no hesitation in coming here. And I like the idea that it's a real retreat. It's a remarkable place in many ways.
I would certainly come back, and I would certainly recommend it to other people. They've got a love for this place and a desire to succeed. If they continue in that vein, I can't see how they can fail, really.
Despite the teething troubles, Adrian and Caroline's warmth and hospitality, along with their beautiful home and the stunning landscapes, seem to have impressed their guests.
Obviously, the photographers have had a very good time. How do you feel about the notion of having, whether it's photographers or artists? I mean, do you think that's something that you want to get into?
Yes, I do. I think it's the perfect place for it. I think it's suited.
It's been a great experience this weekend. The guys are fantastic. They're full of knowledge, and you know, it's opened up my eyes as to the different aspects of photography.
But Ruth wonders, with all their other commitments, whether they really can make Black Clauchrie work.
Here's my take on it. Personal. You can reject it. These people who are here today, the photographers, are being very generous about a lot of things, but they are actually not going to be quite as clinically critical as a paying bunch of people staying here for a week or so. I mean, I really don't want to be spiteful about this, but last night you both left this building with these 4 chaps here. Now, you couldn't do that if you had a group staying here who you'd agreed to host. The problem is that it does require absolutely focused, strategic, structured work all the time. And I think you've got to really examine very, very closely whether that's something you want to take on and whether your head's in the right place to actually commit to doing this in the way that it needs to have a commitment made to it. Because if I were in your shoes, and much as I know you love Black Clauchrie, what I would do is I would do this place up, I'd get it completely fit for market with all the holiday lets and everything else, and I would sell it because I think long-term, this is a very difficult project for you two, because Caroline, you can't manage on your own to do it. And Adrian, the sort of bitty piecemeal thing is not going to work.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's certainly put a lot of workload onto my shoulders, and it's been quite stressful and quite, extremely long hours. And it's a big place, and it's not done overnight. You know, you do one job that should be 3 days and it turns out to be 3 weeks because everything behind it's, just a disaster. At the end of the day, it's about the house and us and, our situation and how we deal with it and what we do and,
Absolutely. And the last thing that should happen is that Black Clauchrie becomes a terrible millstone around your necks that causes you to be very unhappy together. I mean, that's not what you bought it for.
No.
You bought it to have a happy time here.
If the Goodalls are going to turn their home into a successful business, Adrian has to give up farming. If he can't commit to that, staying at Black Clauchrie is simply not viable.
So, I bid you farewell and I wish you much happiness.
Thank you.
Either at Black Clauchrie or perhaps somewhere else. But, it's going to be your decision.
We've a lot to consider, haven't we?
Yes. Just one final thing. Can I remind you that this is an arts and crafts house, not an arts and crafts house. So, would you please take the Westie in the wing collar and put him into long-term quarantine?
Have a safe journey. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Ruth.
Bye.
Thank you.